real estate agent? Are you looking to acquire clients consistently so you can grow your business and your income to live a great lifestyle? This is Dave Finale and the RE Skill Builder Podcast.
Hello, everybody. It's Dave Finale and the RE Skill Builder Podcast. It is Real Estate Talk TGIF, episode 136. And today we have a repeat offender, so to speak. He was on episode number 74, which 7436, that's 62. That's a year and 10 weeks ago, since we haven't missed a week. I mean, yeah, a year and 10 weeks ago, year and 8 weeks ago, since we haven't missed a week in 134 weeks. And Hosss Pratt, welcome, Hosss.
Man, Dave, it's great to be here, buddy. One of the greatest podcasts right here on social media, man. You do a great job. And the consistency, great job.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much for that. And you know, I may have asked you this 60 some weeks ago, but I'm going to ask you again. Real Estate Talk TGIF. Do you know what the TGIF stands for?
Let's see. Thank God it's finale.
You got it, brother. You got it.
Is that it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Thank God it's finale. I mean, it's Friday, and that just, you know, the name just came up. So Hosss, I mean, you were on a while ago, and you know what? I think we became fast friends, and you know, we've just had a great conversation prior to going live here, and it's so important for people to understand where you came from, how you started, because you didn't succeed right away in your business. And what I'd like you to do is tell a little bit of your backstory, and along with the failures that you had, because people need to understand and why you had failures. Would you go through that, please?
Yeah, Dave, you know, for me, if you don't know who I am, I'm a real estate coach and trainer. For the last decade, I've coached thousands of agents, helping them with their mindset, marketing systems, conversion. I wrote a book called Listing Boss. If you haven't read this book, you can get it at listingbossbook.com. Dave has it there. A lot of stuff that we're going to talk about today is in here, but this is a book called Listing Boss. But it wasn't always this, man. And we'll talk about this today, but it's just my journey. I don't teach anything that I haven't mastered, that I haven't done. When I got into real estate, I didn't know a single soul, and I failed miserably at the beginning. And I'll just a quick backstory. I live in Dallas, Texas now. I grew up in Missouri. I didn't go to college. I barely made it through high school. My education ended my sophomore year. I guess formal education. My self-education just began then. But in my sophomore year, and I started a lawn service and started, you know, being the entrepreneur that I was born to be. And I got in, and I had a mentor who was a millionaire, Jimbo, who took me under his wing. And Jimbo taught me a lot of things that I still share today. But he gave me a piece of advice. He said, move. And he wanted me to move from Missouri to Texas. And I was in my early 20s at the time, and I didn't know anybody anywhere else. I've never been on an airplane because I grew up right smack dab in the middle of America. You know, I had never really been anywhere unless our full-size van drove there, you know, on vacation.
Exactly.
Our idea as a kid growing up, you know, to vacation was going to the Smoky Mountains or Talladega Speedway. You know, it was like, that was my childhood. And it was just very, you know, Midwestern blue collar. And I took Jimbo's advice. I moved to Texas, got into real estate, and I failed miserably. But I grew exponentially. And that was probably one of the best pieces of advice that anybody ever gave me, was the encouragement and the courage to leave where I came from, to go to the place of the unknown, to experience the unknown. I mean, I had no idea what I was in for, but you know, God had a plan for me, obviously. And all along the way, He's put people in my path. And as long as I've showed up and done the work, then you know, there's been something on the other side. So for me, it was just having the tenacity to go for it. And maybe my first piece of advice today is, you know, that's my story, but all of you have your own story, whether it be, you know, you're wanting to leave a brokerage, you go to another brokerage to join, you know, in your fear stopping you, or you're wanting to move from California to New Jersey to go hang out with Dave, and, you know, your fear stopping you. Then I would tell you that everything you want is on the other side of fear. And usually when you make a move that you know that you feel like you need to make, it's usually you get positive energy on the other side of it. You get passion, you get this purpose, and it comes alive in you. And I think That's an important thing, Dave, that a lot of people need more of, buddy. They need to make moves that ignite the passion, the fire in their belly, buddy, that get them excited again. So many people are playing it safe, that they're just staying the same, mediocre. They're not changing. They're not being bold or tenacious. And they're just doing what I guess they feel like they need to do. And I would just encourage everybody to make the move. Make the move, go for it, and just know that it's going to be okay on the other side of it.
So you talk about fear. I mean, you got into this business, you made the move, and that must have been scary for you to begin with, making that move from where you were to Texas, and now you're there and you've been there a long time. And tell me about the fears that you went through and the hard times that you went through when you did that, and how you came out the other end.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, this is 20 years ago. So I got a lot of stuff to share with you. This is 20 years ago that this happened, but it was the thing that changed everything for me. And I've continued to move to Dallas ever since then. I've continued to make the move. To make the move is a figure of speech in my mind that I use that I know what it means to make a move. I've done it. And that's what I would also encourage everybody to do. And by the way, that says I'm Bill Pipes. I'm Hosss Pratt there, Dave.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry.
I like Bill, by the way. Bill's done very good. So there you go.
I'm sorry about that. Right in front of me.
I just noticed it. So we're good.
Hey, Hosss Pratt, meet Bill Pike. Here we are.
Right. I don't know if I've ever met Bill face to face, but I've heard great things about him. So I hear we're a lot alike anyway, Dave.
Yeah.
So for what was the question? It was I'm like,
man, I tell you what, I've made a lot of messes this week, and that's on top of it, right?
Hey, this is a great example, though. You can't be scared to make messes like this, because when you go for it, you're going to do this, right, Dave? Like you're gonna make these mistakes, and these mistakes, these aren't mistakes to people like me and Dave. Like right? It's not a mistake. It's just this is what happens when you're doing things, and like you can't let these things stop you. And I think a lot of times, Dave, the idea of perfection is what prevents people from moving forward. Like you got to be willing to just go there and just and let it unwind and let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, it's like a buddy of mine out in California, Matt Allman from Social Network, says the imperfection is the connection, right? It's just so true. I got to tell you a quick story of what happened to me this week. I do a live broadcast every Monday at 5 o'clock on Facebook, and I do it on StreamYard, this system right here. And I went through the whole presentation. It was about 12 minutes. I realized that I didn't share my screen. It was just me in front of us, and nobody saw the presentation. I said, screw it. I'm going to do it again. I did it again, went through the whole thing. Then I realized I just shared one slide, not everything else. So it's like I screwed up completely both times. And all I did was laugh. And guess what? It's still up. I did not take it down. It could stay there. And it's we got with the Bill Pipes thing. I'm sorry about that, but we got off track, and you were talking about fear. The phrase, make the move.
Yeah, and fear. That's what we were talking about, because so it's fear. So fear would be, is this. People are scared to look stupid. Right? They're scared to look bad because of their egos. They think that they have a reputation that they're going to destroy. And I would say fear comes down to this: it's not thinking anything greater of yourself. Like if like I don't think I'm any better than anybody, and I think I'm not willing to make a move. I am willing to make a move. I'm willing to put myself out there because I don't care what I look like. I'm letting my fear stop me. I don't let my ego stop me. I don't think I'm better than anybody, and I don't think I'm better than the people I'm calling. And I'm not saying everybody does. I'm saying that's an important framework to begin with, right? Is looking at yourself right? Because if you look at yourself the right way, you're willing to go to the trenches and do the work. You're willing to do whatever it takes to succeed. And that's where we got to be mindset-wise, is you got to be willing to do whatever it takes without being scared, without letting fear stop you.
I think that doing whatever it takes is synonymous really to being committed. But a lot of people think they're committed and they still fear, they talk, I'm committed. But if you don't do the work to get there, you really have not been committed. It's just like I say, if you want to make $100,000 a year and you make 53, what did you commit to? You committed to the 53. You didn't commit to the 100. You know what I mean?
But they've never done it, so they don't know any different. Like for example, I started my sales career knocking doors. Like when I first moved to Texas, I had to get my real estate license. So I started knocking doors, and I was a door knocker for a company selling spa coupons. And I'd have to go knock at least 100 doors a day. And I just moved here, so it was great. So I could learn the area. I could, just meet the people. And I was knocking 100 doors a day. These are commercial buildings. 100 doors a day, every door, every floor, skipping floors in high-rise buildings, right, to avoid security because no soliciting, right? And I'm walking up to strangers on the street. Everybody was my prospect, and I would talk to everybody. My mouth couldn't stop moving when I was selling these. I had to keep that energy going, next, throughout the day, all day from 9 to 5. And so that taught me the cadence of what it takes to get results in sales, which is you got to be in a place that you're having consistent conversations over and over and over again without letting your enthusiasm or confidence be diminished through that process. So it's next on the phone calls, on the door knocking. And so I think that what people do, Dave, is they've never experienced that like you and I have. And so they don't know any different as far as what they should be doing. So the first thing is you got to set a new standard, and setting a new standard is like start off like when you're brand new to real estate, do nothing but make calls all day, every day. That's all you need to be doing anyway. There's nothing else more important. The industry has a revolving door because agents fail to do this, and just make calls all day, every day, like all day. Well, Hosss, I don't want, what else is there? I mean, exactly. There's nothing else to do but that. You need to get it in you, get the words in you, get the cadence in you, so you can go out there and you can be successful in this industry. But we got to have a framework to begin with.
So one of the things that you're going to get pushback on is say, okay, so I've got my list, whether it's for sale by owners or expires, whatever it is. The pushback is going to be, well, you know what? I called 200 people and I got 198 voicemails.
Right. So you need to do a couple things. You need to do a better job of getting the best data you can, right? And then leveraging different ways of how you communicate to that data. So part of this is getting the good data, but also being creative in how you approach it. So, being consistent is everything. I mean, nobody's going to answer a phone that calls them one time. They're going to answer the phone that they see consistently calling them. And that's what I would encourage you is you don't be outcome oriented or action oriented. You're outcome oriented. No, action oriented, not outcome oriented. Don't worry about the outcome. Worry about the actions, and have more of those conversations. Today, Dave, we didn't have text messaging. When I sold real estate, all there was the phone. And I had the same problem. Nobody answered their phone back then. Right. So, but we didn't have texting. We didn't have email then. We didn't have social media then. Now we have all these forms of communication. So there's no excuse to not reaching people. There's so many more ways that we can reach people today than ever before. So all right. So you're getting a lot of voicemails. You're getting all that stuff.
And you just start feeling terrible because everybody tells you no, and you can't get anybody on the phone.
Why are you feeling terrible in that moment?
You're feeling terrible because you're not getting anywhere. You're losing. You're failing, right? And
so you're entertaining your thoughts is what you're telling me.
Exactly.
So you can't do that. You can't be listening to your mind. You can't be, letting your mind could talk you into what the mind believes. You can't let that happen. Because what happens is it starts affecting your attitude and your energy. So we got to keep these two separate, and you got to be able to just get in the routine. I talked about this the first time. You got to get into alter ego mode. You got to be making these calls, making the dials, sending the text, sending the email, sending the video. We didn't have video back then, Dave. We got video now. Get on video. Send them a video to their text. But you got to get in this mode of you're in productivity mode. You're not in complaining mode. Don't worry about if people aren't answering their phone right now. You just keep your attitude the same and next. And what's going to happen is you're going to get results. Nobody ever answers their phone. They never have, right? Nobody has ever been easy to convert into an appointment. They never have been, and all these problems are the same problems that we've always had. The difference is we have a lot more opportunities to reach people now. So, instead of just the phone, you're able to leverage all the other forms. And that's what most people aren't doing is they're just sticking to one form and they're not leveraging the other forms of communication.
Okay. So let's talk about the other forms of communication and how they parallel along with the phone where you're getting either a voicemail or no answer. So give me one other form of communication they can use to get themselves out there.
I use campaigns. So every campaign, think about this, Dave. This is an important thing to talk about. is campaigns. We need leads on campaigns because you're not going to work unless you're forced to work, unless you have a CRM telling you what to do every day, right? Like you have 115 calls to make today. You have 77 text messages. So that has to happen. You need leads on campaigns in order to be consistent. But let's say you have that and you are consistent. You know, what happens, were you going to say something, Dave?
No, keep going.
So what happens is when you have leads on campaigns and you're consistent, you're gonna have more conversations, and the more conversations you have, I mean, the challenge is most people don't have leads on campaigns. So you know they're stuck to the list, right? Here's my list of FSBOs today, and then they call them and they make notes on the sheet of paper, Dave, and there's no consistency, and then this thing goes in the stack, and these people are never called again. So we got to think about this as a systemized approach. And when you have a systemized approach and you have people on campaigns, you're going to be able to use other forms of communication. So I would use text messaging to answer your question to help me get people on the phone. I would say, hey, Dave, I'm calling you about your property on 123 Main Street. Do you have a minute? Right?
Yeah.
Right. Or Dave, hey, I'm going to call you in 10 minutes about your property on Main Street. Let me know if let me know if it's a good time. These messages that are a way to massage the conversation before it happens is a great way to just tee it up. Like if you just send a text message, hey, Shirley, I'm going to call, I see your property on 123 Main Street expired. I'm going to call you in 10 minutes. I got some questions. The chances of that person answering that phone in 10 minutes are much higher than versus if you did not send that message. So giving them a heads up that you're going to call would be an example of what I'm talking about.
Okay. So you get somebody on the phone, right? And you finally get somebody on the phone, you're talking to them, and they just keep telling you, you know what, I'm going to sell it myself, especially now with the market the way it is. I don't need you. I don't need you. I can sell it like that. What would you say to them then?
You know, the thing is, and this is the FSBO, right?
Yep.
You know, 85% of FSBOs end up listing with a realtor anyway, y'all, because most buyers are working with realtors, right? Because it doesn't cost a buyer anything to work with a realtor. So the reality is it's a challenge for most people in most markets to sell FSBO. You know, are some of them successful? Sure, especially in today's market where there's low inventory. So what we want to do is we have lower inventory. You know, we got to crank up the urgency. So what I would tell you to do is you need to crank up the urgency. The reality is the property has not sold yet. The reality is you have an aggressive marketing plan that can get the job done. So what I would tell you to do is no matter what that FSBO says, you know what I just told you, that let the market beat it into the FSBO's head that it's a lot more challenging than they think. So for a lot of these FSBOs, they're going to have that attitude going into it. But in 2 weeks, Dave, they're going to be singing a different tune if they haven't sold the property. And so the key is you being consistent and staying in touch with them multiple times every week during that process.
Yeah, I want to get back to we're talking about next, and we're talking about, you know, the alter ego mode and stuff. Let's just hit that real quick because I think that's something that's really cool, and I use that as an example, Hosss, from what we talked the last time. Talk to me about Hoss's alter ego mode and what you mean by that.
You know, it's in that, you know, you ever, like, I remember my dad used to tell me this. He coached me in baseball when I was a kid. We'd be on the way to the game, and my dad would be like, get your game face on, kids. Get your game face. It's game time, right? He would tell us to get our game face on. And that mean like we listen to some music, and we get fired up for this game. When we wrestled, I was a wrestler. You know, my whole family wrestled my whole life. They still do in Missouri, and you know, my multiple state champions in my family. And you know, it's the same thing. Like when you're getting ready to wrestle, it's like it's you versus the opponent. You get your game face on, man. Like you got to step into this role of domination. And so from a kid, I've always like mentally stepped into a different character. Like in that moment, I became less of me and more of a boss Hosss. And I turned it up. I turned up my tenacity, turned up my energy, turned up my confidence, turned up all of those things. And when I do that and I step into that person, it's like a superhero. And in sales, we need to become a superhero. We need to step into this thing, put our cape on, and like turn it on and be more of who we are. And like, I remember when I started speaking on stages, Dave, this really came to light, because on a stage, like you really got to be more who you are. Like, because you're bringing, you know, I mean, I do seminars for days, right? 3-day conferences, like to keep energy and attention and excitement for 3 days. I had to crank it up, man, boss Hosss mode. And so I remember and I have these triggers, like when I make calls, I have a white golf glove. It was sitting here. I can't find it. It was sitting right here. It's under a stack somewhere, but I have it. It still sits right somewhere around here. And I would put this golf glove on and I would manually dial every call. And I would just be in my head, just calling next. And I would step into this role. This person doesn't entertain thoughts like nobody's answering their phone. Boss Hosss doesn't entertain that thought. Like it doesn't even come in his mind that, oh, this person doesn't want to, they don't want to talk to you, or they're on the do not call list, or this person, is not interested. Like I never let that penetrate the mind of who I am when I'm in that role, and that persona, that alter ego helps. And, in my book, you had my book there, Listing Boss. I talk about alter ego. And it's funny, I almost didn't put it in there because people, I don't know, it's a little different, but it's probably the most commented thing that I have in my book, Listing Boss, that people say, hey man, changed my life. That alter ego stuff was like a game changer for me. So it works for some people, Dave. Like if they can just switch it, like become a different person. Like, I mean, if I'm a coach, I got to take you and make you better at what you do. And how do we do it fast? We just got to make you sometimes a different person. And that can happen in an instant, and create that alter ego in that alter ego mode. When I get on stage, same thing. I have a body. I do this. I have a zipper. I take the zipper. I unzip it mentally from my top of my head to the bottom of my feet. I unzip my body and I step out of that body, and I become Boss Hosss. I look back. I see that body laying on the ground. And right then I'm on, man. Like nobody can stop me. As soon as I see that old body and the zipper laying on the ground, like I'm unstoppable on stage. Like it's a new me. And it's just something that I turn on, and I'm conditioned to do it because I've done it so many times. Like it's boom, turn on. It just turns on. And that's for me is a tool that I've always used for peak performance in the times that I need it.
I love that story. And I heard Anthony Robbins, his story is that he stands behind stage before he goes on, and he takes these huge breaths.
Yes.
And like it's almost like passing out as he's taking them, and he runs out of the stage. And
no, he does this. He claps 3 times. He spins around real fast, like 2 or 3, right? And then he claps again, and he goes on stage. Same thing. It's the same type of thing that I'm talking about.
And what this and one of the things that does it, it's it's not that person that was afraid. It's not that person that was scared shitless to get on that phone, right? And to get no, leave me the hell alone. It's just really different, and it takes all the negatives out of it and say, okay, here we go, and it allows you to go forward, saying, all right, next.
Totally.
So
it doesn't mean I was a scared little child over here on the floor, right? I mean, I'm still confident normally. It gives me permission to be more of who I am. And that's what I would tell you it does. It gives you permission to be less human, more superhero. Humans are emotional people, right? I mean, me and you have probably less emotions, Dave, than most people, right? Right? Maybe. We typically, what's that?
We've got attitude.
Yeah, right. But, it gives you permission to have more attitude. It gives you permission to be less emotional, more on purpose. And I think not that emotions are bad, but, negative emotions can be for sure. But we want to be more of who we are.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just a matter of we hear this word fear all the time. We hear, and that's what it is. People they don't want. I tell people when they get in, look, this is a rejection business. And if you're not going for no every time, you're looking at it the wrong way. People get so upset because they're getting no all the time. So
they're not rejecting you, though, y'all. They're not rejecting you. Okay, so don't take it personal. You can't take rejection personal. And that will really get in your head. Like, oh, I'm such a loser, right? I mean, I fail at all these things. I mean, that is a very unhealthy way to think. Like, you don't want to do that. Like you don't want to think that way about yourself. Like, the reality is these people don't even know who you are. Okay. They're not going to remember. This is important to know. They're not going to remember who you are as soon as you hang up the phone with them. They don't know who you are. You don't have a reputation. So you're not Coca-Cola. You're not going to lose your reputation by calling somebody and looking stupid. Like these people won't remember who you are 2 seconds after you hang up the phone. So like, you got to know that, like, they're not going around town talking about to all their friends, man, this Dave guy called me earlier today. Like, he didn't know what the hell he was talking. Like, right? That doesn't happen, you know?
No.
So it's all in our head.
Yeah, I talk about that all the time. Is you know what? Number one, they're not going to remember who you are. As soon as they hang up the phone, they're done with you. They may say realtor's been calling me all day, but it's not going to be Dave Finale that they're gonna say, right? And here's the other thing, and see if you agree with this. No one looks at you the way you look at you. You're not. Hold on, we just lost you for a sec. You got to unmute. Oh, there you go.
No, you're exactly right. Like, don't go into this with a reputation, thinking you have a reputation, anything like that. Like, the best thing you could do is just go into it just like with nothing. Like, don't think of anything like that, because that's what stops people. It's ego is what that is. It's ego. Right. So I would leave ego at the door. I mean, your ego is what stops people from doing what it takes. I think, like, I remember even in conversations, like making calls, or even, before that, when I would knock doors, like, man, this sucks. Don't think this doesn't come into my mind, right? Because you get addicted real fast. This sucks. Like, here I am grinding this phone, man. Like, nobody wants to talk to me. Like, I'm just interrupting these people. This person was just eating breakfast. They didn't want to hear. Do I even have enough people to call? Like, what happens if and this is what happens. This happens to all of us, right? And you start to have this conversation taking place, and it's just not real. The thing is eliminating all of those thoughts aggressively, in eliminating your fear aggressively. When it comes to fear, Dave, I have a very basic way to look at this. Like, and it's this. I was brought into this world butt naked, given nothing. Like, think about it. You're brought into this world butt naked, screaming and crying, right? With nothing on your shoes, nothing on your feet. You didn't have any shoes. You didn't have clothes. Nothing. It's just, here's the world, Dave. Boom. Wah, wah. And like, what the hell's there to be scared of? Like, look at us. I mean, we have this technology. Our bellies are full. We look good, right? We got great careers. We have an audience. Like, what the hell is there to be fearful of, scared of? Like, nothing. That's right. Small microcosm human being thinking. Like, you are brought to this world butt naked, dude. This world was way tougher before, than it is now. This world's not tough at all compared to what it used to be. And with everything, and this is the mindset you got to have. Like, you got to look at it this way. Like, you got to be willing to go butt naked and lose everything, and be willing to lose it all to gain everything. And that mindset, I think, is so important, of being willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah, and that's whatever it takes. There's so many things that go into that. So one of the things that I like to talk about a lot, like to push people into, is this P word known as practice, right? Mm-hmm. So when you were going after this stuff and doing this stuff, what kind of practice did you put into your scripts? What kind of practice did you put in situationally? Did you do that at all, or was that not a part of what you needed to do?
It's not that I don't agree with it. Because I coach people to practice and to role play and to do that. But honestly, I never did any of that. I only got in it and I just did it. So, like, for me, as long as I'm making calls and I'm having conversations, like, that's role playing, as long as I'm having conversations. So, for newbies and for new folks, role playing to get the confidence to make those calls. Yes. But you just got to get in it, and you got to do it every day. Prospecting is something that I did every day in my business. I never missed a day of lead generation. You can ask anybody I sold real estate with, even today, they're like, I never saw Hosss. Like, he never went to the office meetings. That came out of his office, like, from 9 to noon. He was just locked in, then he was gone. That was me. Like, I'm not a socializer, Dave. I'm there just to roll them up and do the work, and I'd go in and I'd shut the door. I'd be on the phone from 9 o'clock to noon. I would leave the office and go on listing appointments the rest of the day. And that was my schedule for years. And it was very routine. It was the same every day. I rarely missed a day. And I didn't do the things that would take me away from that. So, the office meetings and that stuff, I never went to those, drove my broker nuts, right? She had awards to give me and I was never there to get them because I was on the phone, right? Those things take away from me being focused on what I need to be focused on. And, honestly, I don't really I don't do what I do for the awards. So, it's that would be my advice, is to do the work. Like, you're not missing anything.
So yeah, just go off on a little other thing. I do a morning, 3 days a week I run, and I do a video afterwards. And today I was talking about money, right? And I talk about money in a manner of speaking where people say you got to give to get. And people say if you're going after money, you're doing it for the wrong reason. My point is that you need to go after money to live, and not only that, to live the lifestyle. So what was your motivation? Was it survival? Was it ego? What was your motivation in going after the business and to grow to where you went?
Man, that's some good stuff right there, dude. That's good. It's so I wouldn't fail. I didn't want to fail. So for me, it's early on, it was to prove my family wrong, right? It was to prove the naysayers wrong. It was to make it. And I was willing to do whatever it took because I didn't want to fail. Like, that was why I did it. It was, and especially at a young age, right? When I was young and tried to, everybody told me to go to college and I didn't. And they told me I'd be a loser, right? Everybody told me not to move to Texas because I would move back and it would be the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life. So every move I made, I was told not to make it. So it was real easy for me to spend 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours on the phone calling FSBOs, calling expireds, because the other choice was to move back and prove them all right. And that just wasn't an option, Dave. So that wasn't going to happen. And for me, that was it. That's what drove everything. Now, about the money thing, like, this is an important part that I'll add to it. Money follows that person. So I don't need to worry about the money as much if I'm doing the actions. Those actions lead to the money. If all I'm focused on is money and I'm not thinking about what actions to take, to me, it's the wrong mindset to worry about money. It's not that you don't want to think about, because I'm with you, money's great, but like, I'm not going to obsess about money. Money is the byproduct of me doing what I'm talking about. Right. And so that you reap what you sow. So like, if I'm doing what it takes every day, making the right choices, prospecting, I'm going to be making money. So I don't have to worry about making money as long as I'm doing the money making activities. And I'll tell you this, Dave, it's been tight for times, but I've never had a problem paying my bills my whole life. I don't say that to brag. I say that because I work. Like, has it been tight at times? Sure. Have people called me and said, hey, I'm a bill collector. But did I let that worry me? No. All I did was I'm going to do what I can do to control it, which is make another call. Right. So that's all I can control, is me doing what I do. So for that, I think, there's a mindset of you're going to attract money based on who you become, and let that process happen. Like, I make a lot of money now and I don't even think about it, but I never had a doubt that I would, right? I always knew I would make a lot of money because I just, I was willing to do that. And then you put the money to good work. Like, I'll give you an example. When I go to a seminar, Dave, I still attend seminars, or I did before COVID. I like learning, and I'm the biggest buyer in the room. I invest in myself, buddy. I pay for coaching. Still, I buy books. You can see my books. There's tons of books. I have a whole library,
Holy crap.
Yeah, I got tons of them, thousands of books. And I have a library because my mentor said, rich people have libraries, poor people have big TVs. So from early on, I started collecting books, and wanted a library. So like, it's investing in yourself. The person that invests in themselves is the person that will grow. The person that is willing to tithe a percentage of their income is going to receive more. Like, I'll give you an example, tithing, right? Tithing is one of those things. My clients that tithe, I tithe, my clients that tithe, there's something magical and spiritual that happens through tithing that it's unexplainable. Like, the best financial thing you could do for yourself and your business is start tithing and experience it yourself. Like, I'm not here to save your soul, but I am here to tell you that there's something bigger and better than the way you're thinking, that especially when it comes to money, especially when it comes to giving and receiving, there's something spiritual that is it's unexplained, but it's real.
Absolutely. Okay. So what about that agent that, they're on the brink of maybe having to get a job because they need money, and and they're just not, it's just not clicking for them, right? And we know it's here, right? Because they're the same person that goes and sits at the desk with the phone and doesn't pick it up.
That's right. They should get a job.
They should get a job?
Yeah. Get out of the industry. Like, just get out. Like, don't even, like, if you're not willing to pick up a phone and do whatever it takes, then get out of the industry. It's not for you. Like, it's what my advice. Like, if you're not willing to pick up the phone and do what it takes is the key word, right? Then why do it to yourself? Like, I can't help you. Dave can't help you. I mean, your broker can't help you. Like, nobody can help you unless you're willing to help yourself. So I don't know how to help that person unless they're willing to write a check and invest in marketing that generates leads. You know, let's say we do that, Dave. They're still going to have phone calls to make. Let's say we put a system in place and they generate 200 leads. Now, are they going to be scared to call those 200 people now?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, this
industry
may not be for you. Like, in real estate, you know, let me tell you something. This is a contact sport. Like, I've never met an agent that was successful that did not prospect for new business. Like, it just, they all do, and they do it all at different levels. And Dave, you know this. Like, there's no way around it. You're either going to pay somebody to do it, or you're going to have to do it yourself. But that would be my advice.
I got to tell you, man, to this day, I spend most of my time, if I'm not prospecting, I'm setting up a prospecting system in order to get out there, right? Sure. For both of us, if we're prospecting when we're teaching, we're prospecting when we're helping people, right? So it's the same thing. And that's what I try to tell people when they have to build themselves. Okay, you don't want to make the calls, but you got to make the calls, but you need the support. The support is to support yourself, and, you know, do what you need on social, do what you need in video, do what you need with this thing, right? Do what you need with it, and do what you got to do. But it's if you've got the fear that you're refusing to get over, you're not willing to commit to yourself or commit to whatever you want to gain. Yeah. You know, you want a lifestyle where you're going to hang out and party and go to the beach and all that stuff. That's great, but it just doesn't come. Not everybody wins the lottery. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let me add this as lifestyle, because this is important. I think important advice that I got that I just want to give people a framework to work from. So I have a friend of mine, when I was selling real estate, he was one of the top Keller Williams regional owners and top guy at Keller Williams. His mom was Gary Keller's first agent. This guy was my mentor. We rolled around on private jets, and, you know, he mentored me. And he was another one of my mentors that came into my life. And one of the pieces of advice he gave me, he made like at the time he was making like $5 to $7 million a year, which is a lot of money. And I was like, what's it like making that much money? You know, like making $5 million a year, and like, what is that like? He goes, you know, it's not much different than making $250,000. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you want to make $250,000 because it gives you a lifestyle a rich lifestyle. Like, the person who makes $250,000 can afford pretty much anything, right? They can afford the car that they want. They can afford a nice house. They can go on vacation. They could put their kids in good schools. They could eat out once in a while. They could do these things. So he said 250 is the magic number to get to if you want a rich lifestyle. He goes, but beyond that, it's more your money going to work for you. He goes, my lifestyle hasn't changed much after 250,000. My wealth has grown, but my lifestyle hasn't changed much because the rest of that money, I put it to work. So my advice to people is to get to 250,000 and to get to that place. So you don't got to get to 5 million right now. Get to 250,000. And I could help almost every agent get to 250,000 in revenue. Like, that's where I would get to that place so you can have a better lifestyle. And what happens is when you experience that lifestyle, you're not going to go back to the old way. You're going to do whatever it takes. It's kind of like when people buy a house, right, Dave? I tell people, buy as much house as you can possibly buy. Why? Because they're going to make the mortgage payment. Because they're going to make the mortgage payment first, and then everything else will fit in after that, right? They will make it work. And that would be my advice.
I agree. And I look at it this way too. Very similarly, is that, you know, they're going to make the mortgage payment, right? And okay, so all right, so you get married, you have a kid. So you get married, you buy a house, then you have a kid. It says, oh no, one income for a while. You're going to figure it out.
Yes.
Right? You're going to figure it out. So that fear is, because I remember my life. That was me, right? okay, bought a house, got married, had a kid, and said, okay, one income now. What am I going to do? I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Second girl comes along. I got to figure it out. What am I going to do? Well, you know what? I've got to work harder, but I also got to work smarter to bring stuff in. So all this being said, 250K is the number, right? You're a new agent getting into the business, Hosss. Here we go. Time to role play. You're
Get
a new
agent. 250, folks, new agents. Get there fast. You can do it your first year.
Okay, here's my question. You're a new agent. How am I getting the 250K?
Your database, your sphere of influence, and go after niches that 100% of the niches want to sell. So focus on the niches. There's riches and niches. You don't need to focus on all the niches. Focus on a few. Like FSBOs, expireds are great niches. Sphere of influence, your database. If you start there, there's like out of those three niches, you'll be able to get to 250K. I mean, if you have talent, you got some skill, like there's enough leads there. Like, I mean, 250 is not that hard to do.
No, you know what? What's funny is that, especially, okay, so honestly, some areas of the country, it's a little harder than others.
Mm-hmm.
Here, depending on what your commission is and everything, we're looking at $8,000 a commission in your pocket.
Right.
So that's okay. So that's what, 24, 25 deals, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, my math is kind of bad. Maybe it's 26, but you know what I mean, right? So, but everybody says that, you hear them say, well, I do 5 deals a year. I do 10 deals a year. I don't know how to get there. Here's the key to everything, in my opinion, right? Is we're on this scale like this, right? Mm-hmm. And what happens is everybody gets too caught up in the minutia of every deal, and they've got to live every deal rather than, okay, it's going to take care of itself. It's a business, right? What I say, exactly what you're saying is, go to the niche, your sphere of influence, FSBOs, expireds, etc. So you look like this.
Yes.
Right? So, and that's the way to do it. And of course, as I said, some areas might be 50 deals is 250K, some might be 25, or some might be 10, depending on where you are in California. It could be 4, who knows, right?
Yeah.
But the point is that you can get there. So, but the other thing too is I hear a lot of people getting into this business. I've heard this for years, right? When I owned my brokerage, and now too, they get into business because they want to set their own schedule. They want to make as much money as they can. Now I hear, well, I want to be able to flip houses, and I want to be an investor. That's the new things that I'm hearing. But they don't want to learn the business first. They want to go from new agent to CEO of this big real estate company.
Yeah.
How do you get through to people that way? Here's
what I would tell you. And this is a good thing, for an agent that wants to do that. One of the greatest things you could do is join a company like an EXP that you can get revenue share and stock, and then take that money and turn it into more. That's what I see more people doing now is this. Because I recruited Tarek El Moussa from HGTV, right, to EXP, and he's the top flipping guy. He's flipped hundreds of homes. So I see this all the time with people joining our organization, Dave, is they want to know how to flip, right? And I tell them the first goal is to get your mailbox money to a place that you can easily reinvest that into go flip houses. Don't take your real estate commissions and go try to flip. Get some other income coming in, so you could then go play with that money to go turn that money into more. And I know you're like working with EXP. Like that to me is one of the greatest things with that company is through the rev share, being able to get it up to a place they can reinvest it to go make more, I think is a great model right now in real estate. Otherwise you got to go play with the pie that you got on the commission side, and there's never enough, right, for most people. So you're not going to, it's going to create more stress than it will prevent stress. So I would look at it like bringing in additional revenue streams and repurposing that money, reinvesting it into investments.
And that's what you call mailbox money. I
caught
that.
Money. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pressure. What we don't want to do. Like so much of what I do now is helping people relieve pressure. It's the. Doesn't that feel better? Just it's like the air, just letting it letting it out, the releasing the pressure of commission sales is what I want to do to help people really, and from bringing in multiple streams of revenue to having other investments. I think, having a little mailbox money, taking that pressure off, I think it's a good thing, man. I've seen it happen to a lot of people. It's, they look younger just a few months after, it's quite crazy. But
yeah, I get that 100%. So getting back to that makes a lot of sense. Have different streams of income, being able to be comfortable and everything else. Because we talk about money for a while. Let's get back to the nitty gritty of the calls and stuff. Let's talk about objections, right? So we're always going to get objections. Is it necessary to handle every objection that comes in, or can we walk around them or jump over them? What are your thoughts on objections? What was always your practice doing that?
I ignore objections in the sense of letting it penetrate my mind and selling soul. Okay, so I don't let it get in my head. But what objections are required for the sales process. Without objections, we don't know what pain is, what their pain is. Without objections, we don't know where to take the conversation. So look at objections as a positive thing. When somebody gives you an objection, they're telling you what it is that they want to hear. And instead of trying to avoid them, I would encourage them. Don't entertain them, but address them and then redirect them. So, for example, let's say you throw an objection at me, Hosss, I don't want to list my house because I don't want to pay the commission. I'm not going to sit here and debate commission with you, Dave. I'm not even going to talk about this right now. I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to address it and move on. So, Dave, okay, I understand that, but let me ask you this: why are you selling the property? Well, that's all I'm going to do, right? Well, I'm selling because I got to move to Seattle. All right, when do you got to move to Seattle by? Well, I got to be there in 2 months. Dave, let me ask you, why are you moving? Man, Hosss, right then they forgot all about the commission.
That's right.
So that's how every conversation goes, Dave. It's the dance. It's well, Dave, I just right there. What I do, ignore it and then redirected it. I mean, right? So it's most people. What they do is they have to. What'd you say? Entertain the objection. You don't need to entertain the objection. In fact, you need to maybe address it, acknowledge it, but that's it, and then follow up with another question to redirect it.
Right. Approve, repeat, and redirect.
Yes. There you go.
Repeat, approve, redirect. Sorry, I had that backwards.
Yes.
So we talk about objections, and we talk about earlier about all the no's and all the voicemails and all that stuff. Would you think that a mindset shift of going after the no? I mentioned a lot lately. This book called Go for No, right? Mm-hmm. Where you're going to get between 90 and 95 no's every 100 calls you make. So would it be smart to say to yourself, you know what? I'm going to get a no on this call. Would that make the rejection less effective?
I don't know. I think I'm also a big fan of attracting what you think about. So I don't want to go into every call thinking I'm going to get a no and attract a no, right? Okay. The way I look at it is this the greatest time in the history of real estate to sell a house? Is that true in New Jersey?
Yes, sir.
So yes, today, and this is true probably in every market, it's the greatest time in the history of real estate to sell. Buy, maybe not, but sell, yes. So I'm going to go into every conversation knowing that it is the single greatest time in the history of real estate to sell a house. And if I'm calling sellers, I'm going to know that. That's going to be my whole thing. So if they're saying, well, I don't want to sell now, I'm going to know that, well, why not? It's the greatest time in the history of real estate to sell their house. So I'm going to convince them and to get them to see it my way. And I'm not going to, if somebody says, well, I don't want to sell, I'm not listing now, then they are truly not going to be selling or listing now, because if they tell me that, then I'm just going to dig deeper. And I'm just going to, either convince them or they're going to, convince me that now's not the time, but I'm not going to let it go. I'm not going to let somebody tell me that they're not going to be selling their home during the greatest time in the history of real estate if they truly want to sell their home.
Okay, great. Let's segue right into another objection. I don't care if I sell the home. I just got it on the market. I'm just going to see what I can get. I don't care if I sell it or not.
So then let's say, why are you selling the property?
I just want to see if I can sell it.
All right. And how much time are you going to try to sell it on your own before you decide to explore other options? It
doesn't matter to me.
Okay. So for that seller, Dave, There are some of those, like, I'm not going to try to convince the guy that just wants to try it on his own. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. I'm not going to, if you truly don't want to do that, like, but what I will do is I'm going to keep you in my campaign. I would say, okay, Dave, here's what I'll do then. I'm going to send you some information that'll help you in selling the property on your own. If you have any questions, just reach out. I'm happy to help. I specialize in selling homes that other agents fail to sell, and homes that, where FSBOs, for sale by owners, are trying to sell. I specialize in that department. So I'm going to send you some information that will help you. And do you mind if I stay in touch?
Exactly. So
that's where I'll take it. And then the next week, or 5 days. Hey, Dave, it's Hosss. I just want to call. Did you get the property sold yet? No, I haven't. Did you get the letter I mailed you earlier this week? Well, no, Hosss. It's under yes, it's under a stack. All right. Well, what are you doing to market the home? It's a whole other conversation, and I'm going to be mailing you things during this process, because when I mail something, it gives me permission to call you. When I mail you something and I say, Dave, did you get the letter I mailed you earlier this week? It removes any doubt. It gives me full permission to call and to follow up. So that's the purpose of making the mailing, is to get the permission to call. And Dave, I'll keep you in there, and I'm going to let the market kind of bring you to reality. I'm not going to debate it with you on the phone. I'm just going to stay in touch, and then you'll probably be singing a different tune in a week or 2 weeks.
Okay, so another one. So when is a good time, or is there a good time, or should you ever give up on a call and be that one that hangs up?
I've never given up on a call and hung up.
Okay.
No.
How far do you take? You just keep going until they keep talking?
The key is asking questions. If you're, as long as you're asking questions, you can keep it going, till the cows come home. But if you're just talking and trying to convince them, and you're going to look like it could get real awkward. Like it could get real uncomfortable, and you're going to look like a salesperson. So my advice would be just ask questions. Like, if you hear me on the phone, all I do is ask questions. That's it. I ask questions till I find the opportunity to inject my value. And I think that's a big thing that is a distinction in sales, is asking questions. Like, I'm asking question after question after question after question. I'm just gathering data and information, and then eventually I'm going to establish my case. So I'll say, Dave, look, I understand you don't want to sell this property on your own. You're trying to get it sold, though, because you're trying to move to Seattle. You got to be at that job in 60 days. I understand the market's the greatest time in the history of real estate to sell your home. I understand you want to pay the commission. Here's what I suggest we do. I've got an aggressive marketing plan that works like magic in getting properties sold right now. If I could show you a way that it wouldn't cost you anything to get the property sold, but it could accomplish your goal of getting it sold in that time frame, is that something that you would be open-minded to hearing? Well, yeah, Hosss, I would. All right, well, let me do this. I'm going to come by Thursday at 7:30. I want to sit down with you and Shirley. I want to put my eyeballs on the property. I'm going to show you what we can do, but I'm also going to do a market evaluation to show you the numbers. And will both you and Shirley be there Thursday at 7:30? See, this is an important thing. Is that has to happen. That conversation of me telling that seller what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it. That's what's missing in people. They don't close. They don't set the appointment. They wait for the seller to set the appointment. Right. They wait for the seller to say, okay, Dave, man, you're right. Why don't you come by Thursday at 7:30? That never happens, Dave. Like, sellers don't say that, do they? No. There's a seller. Does a seller ever say, Dave, you're right. You know what? Can you come by tomorrow at 6 and show me what you got? Does that ever come out of their mouth? No, never. So that's your job, is to say, here's a magic line. Dave, here's what I'm going to do. Great line. When you say, here's what I'm going to do, it's like a warm blanket for the seller and wrapped around. They just wanted somebody to come in and just tell them what they're going to do. Take control. These sellers just want somebody that's going to take control. And so that's what I would encourage you to do, is be the one that does. Tell them what you're going to do, and don't wait for them to tell you, because you'll be waiting forever. You'll die a slow death waiting for a seller to set their own appointment.
Now, there's so many good nuggets here. Ask questions and inject your value when you get to the opening. Here's what I'm going to do. I absolutely love that. In your book, Listing Boss, which I look at often, because I honestly, 100% of my coaching is, having people get more business. And there's so many different ways to do it. You said it earlier about so many ways to communicate. And that's what we're doing. We're communicating, whether it's through video, whether it's through social media, whether it's actual face-to-face or voice-to-voice, right? We're communicating. And there's so many different things, different ways to do it. Now with COVID and everything else, we've had to go to something else called virtual, right? So how has that shifted things that you've had to do in your business, and how have you done a lot more instruction virtually? I mean, you've done this instruction virtually, but to teach people to do it virtually.
Dave, I have literally been teaching people this for 5 years.
Me too.
Okay. So for 5 years, I can show you webinars.
It's in your book.
Yeah, no, hey, look, I'll go to present. Yeah, it's in my book. Go to what's the word? It's the domain. It's lockdowngift.com. Go to lockdowngift.com. I'll give all of our listeners a free gift. It's a $500 course that I give away. And this course was created 5 years ago. And it's how to do digital listing presentations, virtual. And so, but for me as a coach and trainer, 6 years ago, I was sitting in a hotel. No, 7, 8, it was like 7, 8 years ago. Yeah, because I just started having kids. And I was on the road doing seminars 200 days a year. I was newly married. My wife and I wanted to have kids. And I'm on the road, and I'm sitting at a hotel in Cincinnati, Ohio. Like, strung out, burnt out from the road, dude. Like, I'm just like tired, man. I want to come off the road, Dave. Like, I've been on the road for 200 days a year for years. And I remember the conversation. I called my assistant, Heather. At the time, it was Heather. Brenda wasn't here yet. And I call up Heather and I say, Heather, I'm no longer doing these. I'm no longer doing seminars on the road. She's like, what do you mean? Like, I don't care. It's over. Like, what are we going to do? We're going digital. I've heard about these things called webinars. I'm just going to do webinars, and I don't know how it's going to look, but I got a family to make, and I'm going to go home and I'm going to go do that. And I'm going to stay off the road, and I'm doing nothing but digital virtual webinars and that's what I did. I did this 8 years ago. I'm telling you, I've never missed a beat of it either. I've done thousands of webinars, every week, multiple times a week doing this. So like, this is how my business model was set up. Going into this, like I've been doing digital virtual for a long time. And I've taught agents how to do this. The problem is agents aren't going to change unless they're forced to change. Right. COVID happened to force everybody to change. And because I was telling years before, I wouldn't even be going to meet sellers at their house. I'd be doing everything virtual. I would meet and I would set quadruple the amount of appointments virtually as I would face to face. And I would try to teach this, but honestly, Dave, they weren't ready to hear it then. That's the reason I just give the course away for free now. And because they weren't ready to hear it. But yeah, I mean, as an agent, like, it's the best thing ever to do virtual. I think it's a better model. I mean, it always has been. I've always thought this.
So I'll never forget about 5, 6 years ago, I was going through something and explaining how to do walkthroughs for clients. Send them the videos. Instead of showing them 10 houses on a Saturday, they'd pick through, say 8 sucked, and they'd want to see 2. The service you were giving them, they didn't have to come through traffic for those 8. They didn't have to worry about the kids for a long time. I remember the agent saying, "That's great. I love that idea." A couple hours later, saying, "What do you got going this weekend?" So I got to show 6 houses to this guy. I said, "Why don't you go do the videos today?" No. You just said it was great.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, over time, I've developed things like, for instance, I've got a virtual digital listing presentation. It's done as a webinar. It's got forms where you fill out to get all the answers that you need. On-demand open house. If people are doing virtual open houses, how about an on-demand open house? Yeah. Right? So we've got all these different things at our fingertips. So I have that right, lockdowngift.com?
Lockdowngift.com, yes.
LOCK, not ED?
Yes. LOCKDONE. No,
DONE?
DOWN. Yeah. I told you my formal education stopped my sophomore year, okay? And I'm dyslexic, Dave, so don't give me spelling. But yeah, lockdowngift.com.
That's good. That's good, man.
Hey, well, one thing I would add too is it's simple like this. Like, you're right. Like, it's a simple thing like having a domain. Like, I have meethosss.com. Like, when I meet somebody, I say, go to Meet Hosss. They go to meethosss.com. that automatically sends them right into my Zoom meeting room. So I don't got to fiddle with links. It's just a domain. So meetdave.com, meetshirley.com would be an easy thing to do to give people. Like, I'll give you an example. You're on the phone with a seller. Hey, seller, are you sitting in front of a computer? Yeah, I am actually. Hey, do me a favor. Go to meethosss.com real quick. I want to show you something. Okay, and then they go there, and it throws them right into your Zoom. Now you're face to face.
Right.
But notice how he was fly in doing it. I say, are you sitting in front of your computer? Do me a favor. Go to meethosss.com. They don't know what they're getting into, but they're about to get into a face-to-face meeting. So there's ways like that are stealth ways to get people to meet you virtually that work.
Yeah, I like that better. Mine is actually zoomdave.com, and it's like I don't have to give links out at all, you know?
Right.
And I love that. But Meet Hosss, I love that. Hey, man, you know what? We've been rambling for a long time. We've got some really great nuggets here. I mean, we could go on forever. I got to tell you, I have a product called Real Estate Talk TGIF Top 10. It's called TGIFtop10.com, and you're in the top 10 already. Now I got to put this one in the top 10 too.
Well, we got to make it to the top 10 first, don't we? How do we do that?
I think you just did.
Oh, we already did. Okay.
Yeah, you're in the top 10 to begin with. I just either will add this one. See, just because it says top 10 doesn't mean it can't be 20. Right? Right? So it's like what I put it down is it's you look at it, it's 10 hours of great coaching. We've got people like John Cheplak in there, Tom Ferry. We've got Lee Brown in there. We've got some other greats in there, right? And Hosss Pratt, right? So it's just an amazing thing. And I want to thank you so much. We've gone on for a while. It's been really great. And at the end of all of this, I have two questions, right? So the question I have for you is how do people reach you? How can they communicate with you best?
Yeah, any of the social media platforms, if you're out there, Hosss Pratt, I think there's only one of me, so you can, I'm easy to find. So find me on social, your preferred channel. You can email me at hospratt.com. You can get my free gift at lockdowngift.com. You can get a copy of my book, Listing Boss, for free. You pay shipping and handling is all you're going to pay. I won't charge you for the book. It's like $7.95 for shipping and handling. I'll send it to you. You can get it on Amazon, but it's going to cost you a lot more. You can go to listingbossbook.com to get this. Get this book. You're going to read any book this year, let it be this one. This is a book. You can read the reviews on Amazon. I ain't going to waste your time in this book. It's just straight from the very beginning, nugget after nugget. So I would get this book as well, and that's how you can reach me.
Oh, that's great, man, because I have read your book a couple of times, and it helps me help others, right? Yeah. So I have one more question for you as we end our broadcast today is how can I help you grow your business?
Keep doing what you're doing, Dave, and keep putting these things out there and keep, especially putting myself out there and introducing me to your people is a way, y'all, and keep doing it. One of the things, that you do, I mean, you said this, you have what episode is this?
This is 136.
136 hours of straight content that you've done for free for people. And so what I would encourage people to do is send Dave your love and thank him for this. Like, he doesn't have to do this. Like, this is a crap load of work what he's doing. And thank God you're doing it, because if not you, then who, and like you're doing this and like interviewing people like that. I mean, those are like legends in the industry, and it doesn't cost anybody anything. And so I just thank you, Dave, for, your time and like your energy of this and the commitment to continue to do it for this long. Like, I don't know anybody else like yourself that have done this. So like, keep doing it is what I would tell you to do for the industry, and don't stop. And like, just keep doing it for everybody else, because it's a gift, and I appreciate it. And everybody needs to know that too, the amount of work that you put into this. So thank you.
Hey, Hosss, thank you so much for that. So nice of you to say. And you know what, man, this has been a great hour. It's been a great time. We're going to end this. We got another great show coming up next week. We've got people like Chris Jones, Jeff Talbot. We've got a lot of different people coming up, and just really excited. We also have Brent Gove coming up in a few weeks. So we're excited about all this going on. Hosss, stick around for a couple minutes. Thank you, everybody, for coming on. And we are going to see you all real soon. It'll be next week when you see Real Estate Talk TGIF episode 137 next week. Thanks a lot, guys.
Take care.